Ah, here comes the age-old question. Can you conquer hell as a rat in Barony? I have no idea what it is, but Reggie's uploaded this, so I honestly was eventually kind of, intrigued enough to try to see if I can figure out, or not figure out, but watch. He always makes really good content, so as usual, the original video is going to be in top of the description down below, but honestly, what can you say except it's going to be chaos? So without further ado, let's get right into it, Doom, but without 300% more bubonic plague. Probably. Can demons survive the Black Plague?
Barony is a game about equality, because it doesn't matter whether you're a goblin merchant or a human wizard. We all look the same after being painfully crushed by a boulder. This is a first-person RPG roguelike, where you descend floor by floor, acquiring loot and meticulously crafting your build to prepare yourself for the final boss. Giant minotaurs, murderous treasure chests, and even the King of Hell are just some of the myriad horrors that await us in these dungeons. Fortunately, we have access to a wide variety of powerful classes to help us navigate these challenges. But what if we didn't? What if instead we were a rat? Starting off hostile to all races, with only one life, unable to use weapons, low health, lower attack, and our only ability being a spell to find the nearest piece of cheese, could we devise a plan to turn this rat into the most powerful being in the universe?
Let's see if you can. It's actually really interesting.
As we brave 25 life-threatening dungeons in an attempt to defeat Baphomet, the Lord of Demons. But first, I have to tell you something. 11 years ago, I had a mental breakdown that culminated in me declaring war on the United States Navy. Don't really remember what caused it. There was a lot going on at the time. Ebola, didn't really like the Fantastic Four movie.
Say that again?
Anyway, I kidnapped a bunch of people and held them hostage in international waters. United States wasn't too happy about that, so they blew up my boat with a Tomahawk missile.
This is gonna be
Funny
Surf
enough,
Shark.
I was the only survivor. My war against the US Navy was short-lived, but a lot of fun. And I used to miss it, until I found out about the sponsor of today's video, World of Warships. Now I can relive my glory days
I was
like high
so
seas
confused
in
about what it was
realistic
gonna
combat
be.
against up to 23 other players. World of Warships is free to play on PC, with constant updates and over 600 intricately modeled aircraft carriers, battleships, cruisers, and destroyers at your disposal. You want to play this game, because on an atomic level, every molecule of your body is an Iowa-class battleship yearning to destroy Imperial Japan. I spoke with a scientist. That's not healthy. In fact, it's probably terminal, so you better hurry up and start playing. But maybe you're not interested in the historical side of things. That's no problem, because the Headless Horseman has just been added to the game, along with his very own custom ship skin. Now, much like me, you can take to the high seas as a revenant of vengeance and strike terror into your enemies' hearts one volley at a time. So what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description to download World of Warships today, and use promo code HEADLESS for 7 days premium access, 1.5 million credits, 500 doubloons, the Headless Horseman plus skin, and your choice of a free Japanese destroyer, American cruiser, or German battleship. So click that link, but don't do it for me. Do it for your World of Warships.
Oh my god, not the
waifu.
waifus, not the waifus!
Now, before we can become the Rat
Oh my
Messiah
god,
and kill Satan, we have to do something even harder, beating the game normally. You see, for our rat build to work, we need access to the Vampire Shaman, which is unlocked by completing 7 different biomes and defeating the bosses Orpheus and Eridice. This was by far the longest and most excruciating part of the plan, so I'll give you the highlights. Create a Goblin Shaman. Congratulations, you are canonically illiterate. Enter the dungeon and beat several people to death with rocks. New biome, full of friendly goblins. Kill them anyway. Eat rotten food and go blind as a result. Murder an innocent man to steal his backpack. You are now a wanted criminal. Avoid legal persecution by using an amulet of sex change to cut off your genitals and become a legally new person.
No,
not
the...
Now you've got the backpack
and your goddamn it. Gooners are all... Why do you do this to the world?
An exterminator. Recruit a psychopathic man named the Potato
King.
Don't
fuck the goblin. No, don't say wood.
Don't and get chased out of the level by their
Chad, no, Chad, no, don't fuck the goblin, Chad, no, Will, no, Chad, just because it's breedable doesn't mean it should. Nobody questions whether or not they should. They just worry about doing. No.
Dami Mommy. First boss, turn into a troll and carefully lobotomize him with a closed fist. Successfully kill this all-powerful wizard and then promptly lose a fight against Derek the cheeseburger salesman. New biome. It's full of Irish immigrants and you're starving to death. Take a moment to appreciate the gameplay of being shanked by dozens of gnomes. Then proceed to the cockatrice's lair. You should not have come to the cockatrice's lair. Final boss fight. You are not prepared. All of your teammates die within 30 seconds and you spend the next 20 minutes accidentally running into cleverly placed pools of lava. Luckily, your enemies were nice enough to put pools of water right next to the pools of lava.
God.
The fight has been going on for 30 minutes and you're about to drop dead from hunger. Gamble everything on one last attack. You get unbelievably lucky and kill the boss. Congratulations, you are now a Bayou Baron. Receive some cutscene about how you're the new king and it definitely won't turn into an evil tyrant like those last guys.
Oh, you will.
Alright, finally we've unlocked the Vampire Shaman. Now we can begin breaking the game as a rat. But first, some ground rules. The restrictions of this challenge mean that we are only allowed to interact with the outside world as a rat. However, we can interact with our inventory as a vampire.
You ever seen Howie Mandel's penis?
This mostly allows us to do
what?
things like equip
Hey,
armor,
yo,
read
what?
books, and
That came out of nowhere. Wait, excuse me. Oh God, no. What did I pause on? Whoa, what is happening? Listen, I'm hungry, but not hungry for that.
But apart from that, it's all rat all the time. So let's get started. We begin by creating our character and loading into the first floor. Gentlemen, I want to introduce you to rat meat. If we want this little guy to kill Satan, he's going to need to be fairly high level, and the best way to achieve that is by maxing out his skills. There are 16 in total, ranging from swimming to spellcasting. However, since we are a rodent, we won't be able to level up trading or any of the weapon skills, which puts us at a major disadvantage. But we are also a vampire, which gives us access to one game-breaking ability. This little fella right here. Levitate is among the cheapest spells in the game, which means spamming it is a viable way to level up your magic and casting skills. However, you will eventually run out of mana, unless you're a shaman, because the shaman starts with a voodoo face mask, which gives him +1 mana regen while shapeshifted. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. By turning into a rat and casting Levitate 3,000 times, you should be able to max out 2 of the most important skills in the game on the very first floor. Now listen,
this is literally how you break the game.
The male fantasy.
Listen. What another pause. Yo, look at the pecs. Oh my God. Anyways, there's literally just an exploit. Farm it as long as you can. This is not about whether or not the game is strong enough. It's about whether your will is strong enough to stand there to press the button that many times. Hey, yo, I know.
To see big muscles, cool sunglasses, driving fast cars, and crashing into a retirement home at 160 kilometers an hour. Simple stuff, really. But the male fantasy does not include sitting at your desk for 2 hours and casting Levitate 3,000 times. Therefore, I recommend downloading Auto Hotkey and running an automated spellcasting script. Mine's in the description if you're curious. So simply assume rat form, start the script, and slowly become the most powerful rodent of all time. This process takes a while, so I decided to kill the time by taking a normal shower by myself, washing the dishes, engaging in thought-provoking debates with the fellas down at the homeless shelter, and then chasing women through public parks. This gets me back home with just enough time for another shower
this guy's
before
a weirdo.
to the computer. Briefly looking over our stats, the plan appears to have worked. Casting and magic are nearly maxed out. The only problem is we're kind of starving to death. So it's time to enter the dungeon in search of food. On the topic of food, the vampire shaman is again very broken. Because much like Todd Howard, the vampire requires a constant supply of human blood. The only difference is we use blood to satiate our hunger, whereas Todd Howard just doesn't want other people to have it. Anyway, blood is our primary food source. However, by transforming to a rat, we are also able to eat conventional types of food.
Where do you find these clips?
These two options.
Where do you find these clips? My God. What have people been doing with their life in the internet?
We're essentially playing with 200% food abundance,
New York
which admittedly
TikTok.
is a little hard to appreciate as I starve to death in this dungeon. I start my food quest by running around the map and recruiting a small posse of rodents, because worst case scenario, we can cannibalize our fellow rat brethren. But that didn't end up being necessary, since after only 5 minutes, we hit a major jackpot. Not only did we find 2 treasure chests full of food, but one of them also contained a chef's hat. In addition to making us look like a beloved Disney character, this hat also increases food nutrition by 20% and buffs the drop rate.
my
With a food
God,
supply
it's fun.
secured, I made my way back to a safe room and resumed
Posse.
the rat maxing.
Chat,
After
posse.
levitating about 75 more
That's a
times,
group.
we had capped out our casting ability. This is where things get nutty. The reward for becoming a legendary caster is that you learn a 0-mana version of the spell Force Bolt. This is usually unlocked around floor 15 or maybe
Wow.
20, so having access to it on floor 1 is questionably balanced. Furthermore, we can use it to level up the rest of our magic skill. Doing this unlocked the spell Dominate, which allows us to mind control enemies if they're weak enough. If they're not weak enough, it hurts a lot. It's like Pokemon, but if you gauge the health bar wrong, Ash Ketchum dies in a violent explosion. With that taken care of,
Self-destruction.
I think we're ready to start the
Free
adventure.
spell,
I began
always
rapidly
it's free.
scurrying around the map, picking up every item I could find, the vast majority of which is complete garbage. But we're getting appraisal experience from identifying it. I know an entire stat based around item identification doesn't seem cool or exciting, but
Stats
you'll
matter.
appreciate it when it saves you from accidentally equipping cursed items, such as Amulet of Strangulation or Sweatpants of Circumcision.
What?
Truly, not all heroes wear
What? Yo! Oh my! I'm never putting on dungeon loot.
capes. Apart from that, I also started my cult of personality by mind controlling a few people and forcing them to beat each other to death. This levels up our leadership skill, and with
You know
enough
what?
practice,
Anything
we can
for
even
skill
increase
ups.
our max follower count. But for the time being, healing potions
You
are
have an
hard to
army,
come
rat
by,
army,
so don't
rat
get too
time.
attached. After scouring the entire
Ratatouille,
floor, all
all of
valuable
them.
items and signs of life, I reviewed my inventory. We've got plenty of food, a portable alchemy station, and a ring of might, which gives us a 1-pound rat enough strength to effortlessly push a 7,000-pound boulder across the map. But why does that matter? Well, allow me to explain. In chapter 100 of Baki Do, Yujiro Hanma rapes Joe Williams while maintaining his heterosexuality. This is a power scaling feat that informs us how strong a character is. For example,
Why you pull out Baki out of nowhere? You're not wrong. That's literally what happens. But like, hey yo, that was whiplash. I was not expecting that. Why is that exact? You know what? I'm just moving. We're moving on.
if I could successfully beat the homosexual allegations, then internet autists would have no choice but to scale me at a multiversal level. But for right now, we're
Okay.
focusing on rat meat. And
Please.
him pushing an entire boulder easily qualifies him as a small building level superhuman. Not bad
Okay.
for floor 1. Now, let's head to the next level. In case you were concerned that things were getting too easy, don't worry. Floor 2 has got you covered, because this symbol right here indicates that within 5 minutes, a gigantic unstoppable minotaur is going to spawn onto the map, hunt us down, and
love the
curb
music.
stomp us back to spawn. I don't think I can handle levitating 5,000 times again, so we can't let that happen. I begin frantically searching for an escape. Fortunately, I managed to kill an Italian man and use his Daedalus shrine to reveal the exit.
Ah,
which was
yes,
when
the
I got a
Italian
new
man.
notification. The Zap Brigade has spawned into the map. I know the Zap Brigade sounds jovial and maybe even heroic, but
Sounds
that's just
honestly
a name.
goofy.
It's like if the Gestapo started calling themselves the Bubblegum Army. It doesn't really make you feel any better.
Can you not put anime girls with it? Why are you making it
The
look?
Gestapo started calling themselves the Bubblegum Army. It doesn't really make you feel any better when they're pulling your fingernails out.
Interrogation womb. They're making a Gestapo chat. Stop.
So the good news is, we don't have to worry about the Minotaur anymore, because the Zap Brigade has executed him by firing squad. The bad news is the Zap Brigade is a group of racial purists who spawned onto the map to perform a large-scale ethnic
It's a
cleansing
cleansing
on
group,
anything
yeah.
that's not human.
Okay.
And my friends,
You
we
are not.
definitely not human.
Nope.
1 or 2 shots from their lightning staff, and our rat is cooked. They're currently stalking their way across the map, actively looking for us. But what they don't know is I'm actively looking for them, because I want their equipment. Killing them takes forever due to their amulets of magic reflection, but slowly,
Superior's
over the course of
the
30
superior
minutes,
race
I use
rat.
my superior rat intellect to separate them
Ah, yes, at the end of the day, it always was the race war.
and wear them down. After cleaning off the blood stains, we've now got some high-level armor for us to proceed to the next floor. This would be floor 3, but if you enjoy psychological torment as much as I do, then I recommend flipping these levers and going to the secret level, the Gnomish Mines. My therapist keeps telling me George Droid isn't real, and he can't hurt me, but I know better. I've seen the schematics. Similarly, Barony developers will try to convince you that the Gnomish Mines aren't that bad. I mean, look at this well-lit room with all kinds of golden fountains, and the exit is right there.
You don't fuck with
this
gnomes.
Is terrific, but let me tell you something. They ran out of room in hell a long time ago, and now they're putting all the gnomes here. Outside of these doors is a winding maze filled to the brim with trolls, lightning staff gnomes, and ornery child miners that want nothing more than to excavate the side of your head. Around every corner, there is a 25% chance of getting smoked in the face with a lightning bolt, and there's like 600 corners, which is why I chose to mind control the gnomes and have them lead the way.
Yeah, have an army.
And meticulously exterminating 70% of the gnome population, I had gained several levels and become relatively
powerful.
Miners,
they're
By
gnomes.
using bloodletting, we can now two-shot most gnomes and farm them for vials of blood. Now, I'm not sure what's more terrifying, being stalked through a mine shaft by a bloodthirsty magical rat, or realizing it's actually just a naked man in a chef's hat. But either way, we're not here just to terrorize the gnomes. We're also here for the Sphinx's Casque, an artifact helmet of extreme value to spellcasters. It gives 3 armor and 8 intellect.
You need that armor.
Plus 8 intelligence is a massive difference. Consider it to be the difference between 2 people. One is a normal man who works a job at the hot dog factory
the other guy's a
and has
Discord
a wife
mod.
and kids.
Maybe a
The
Redditor.
other is a deranged lunatic who spends his free time
Why would you make sure about... No! You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
staring into the sun and taping dead rats to his ceiling. I'm not sure who the intelligent one is, but they're pretty fucking different. Point is, this helmet is going to make our spells do a lot more damage. However, there are 2 issues. First, the treasure room is locked behind a series of impenetrable gates, and second, it's guarded by about a dozen spellcasting traps. Solving problem number 1, the switch to open the gate is located inside this merchant shop. I lure the shopkeeper out of his store, double back, flip the switch, and make my escape. This made me a wanted criminal according to the Merchants Guild, but it's worth noting that Reggie the Rat is a legally distinct person from Reggie the Vampire, so he's not wanted. Don't worry though, the Merchants Guild also wants to lynch Reggie the Vampire, but it's just because they're racist, not because he's a criminal.
What a big difference.
We have 2 options. Option 1, I carefully examine the room from multiple angles.
You're running in there, grinding and running.
To formulate a safe plan of approach. Or option 2, I cast a speed buff and run in while pissing my pants. Obviously, I chose the latter.
Grab.
Miraculously, this worked, and we secured the helmet. This is a huge power spike for all of Rat.
Come on now.
Now, let's get out of this absolute dump. Floors 3 and 4 were relatively uneventful. However, it's worth noting that usually by this point, you're level 5 or maybe 6. We are level 13. Also, we have so much random shit in our inventory that we actually weigh 860 pounds. I cannot fathom how embarrassing it must be to get mind-controlled by a morbidly obese rat dragging itself across the floor. But clearly, it's not embarrassing.
It works. If it works and you have an empire from it, who am I to judge the chunky rat? Mr. Bombastic wants to rule the world and he has the power.
Enough to make a difference. Interesting loot on these floors included an amulet of strangulation, which isn't useful to us, but there is actually a BDSM gimp class in the game, which regenerates its mana through autoerotic self-asphyxiation. So we'll leave this here for them. Instead, we're going to take this ring of warning.
That is
by equipping it,
class
we
of all
basically
time.
unlock wall hacks, because all enemies on the level are now marked as pink dots on our minimap. Slowly but surely, we are approaching divinity. Now let's move on to the next biome, the
Rat Hood. I love the music choice so far.
The swamp is best known for its gangs of goblin criminals that will stab you to death at a moment's notice.
Gang
the
warfare.
closest real-life equivalent to this would be going to a Brazilian favela and telling the local drug dealer that his native language is just gay Spanish. This is a high-level engagement farming technique, assuming you can moderate the casual racism. To my Brazilian viewers, I support you and concede that Brazilian Portuguese is fundamentally superior to Portugal Portuguese. Together, we can defeat the colonial pig dog. bugs, but I digress. The real value in the swamps doesn't come from chewing
Right, bro.
goblins to death
Damn.
with my big
Bro.
dumb rat teeth. It comes from this.
What
a
is
pool
it?
of water. On one of the earlier floors, I stole an amulet of Olympic swimming from a gnome. At
Water
the time, I just
breathing.
did it because the idea of a gnome swimming as fast as a shark creeped me out. But now we can use it to our advantage. By equipping the amulet and casting a speed buff, we can blast through the water like a torpedo and power level our swimming in the process. This process takes
Hey,
a while.
levels
you
is
have to be careful
good.
not to shapeshift back into a vampire because, and there's no good way of putting this, you will physically dissolve. Luckily, we didn't dissolve, and after 45 minutes of high speed
Right. I don't know how traditional this thing is, but if I remember right, vampires can't touch certain bodies of water because of implications. Like I'm pretty sure in the the Helsing Abridged series, or Helsing Abridged in general, or Helsing in general series. I'm pretty sure that because something would do with baptism and holy or in the water, running water or something like that is too close to baptism, so they can't touch certain amounts of water. But that's only in some beliefs of vampires. But I wonder if it's because they're not applying such things here as well. Very interesting. Very interesting.
training, we achieved 100 swimming, which now lets us walk not only on water, but
Oh,
also
damn.
lava. That's
Oh.
right, Rat Jesus is becoming a thing, and
That
you
is
can't
literally
stop
Rat
it.
Jesus.
My first order of business as a religious icon was to wage a holy war against the Merchants Guild.
Okay.
For far too long, they have persecuted us for our beliefs, and it ends here. I went to a jewelry store and lured the shopkeeper out into a wooded area, at which point I began frantically darting between the trees while blasting him with high-level magic. Over time, I was able to slowly whittle down his health bar
Did you
until
take
he was
over?
low enough for me to finish him off with my mouth. This was more painful and less homosexual than it sounds. While picking through the shopkeeper's personal
didn't even think
effects,
about
I
it
came
like that,
across
bro.
a
Come
ring
on.
of invisibility. Oh yeah, Rat Jesus, the serial killer, is now invisible. This is big. Arriving on
Very
floor 7, I
fucking
waste
big.
no time destroying the non-believers, which it turns out is quite easy to do when you have the bite force of a crocodile and your enemies can't see you. First major piece of loot we found was a ring of slow digestion. Combining this with our chef's hat won't
Less
stop
hunger.
world hunger, but it'll stop mine. Admittedly, the value of an anti-starvation build is a bit questionable when we have 30 vials of blood and 150 pounds of chicken legs in our inventory. To help offset that weight, I also found a pair of metal boots that weigh negative 40 pounds. I
What?
was trying to understand that when suddenly I was ambushed by the Minotaur, and this time there's no ethno-fascists here to save us. But we're not the same rat we were
No,
6
you're
floors ago.
you're Rat
So I
Jesus.
decided to fight the Minotaur
You're
in a
Rat
David
Jesus.
versus Goliath-esque battle. By continually refreshing my Adderall speed buff, I was able
That's
to
true.
effortlessly run laps around the map, stopping every so often to
Hey, even if listen, man, the reason David and Goliath went when it went is because say what you will, but it basically is bodybuilder versus an armed individual, and you better believe David went in that battle strapped with his slingshot, and like a guy with a gun, did not matter what size you were. Goliath got shot. It's if you know what a slingshot actually does, motherfucker went in there with a strap.
held him with force bolts. To motivate my survival instincts, I also used a mental exercise where I pretended that I was a female Twitch streamer, and the Minotaur was my #1 fan.
Oh,
I swear
God.
to God, that actually made me run faster. Once I started mixing in some slowing spells, it was all over.
Oh,
Little
God.
known fact here, but after killing Goliath, David chopped his head off and
Yep.
carried it back home. He was
Uh-huh.
kind of a freak like that. Anyway, I couldn't find the Minotaur's head, so I just picked up his flawless emerald. This is very
That shoe
valuable,
looked
but money
tastier.
is a construct
Bro,
of the Merchant's
stop, Chet,
Guild, and we
please.
have no need for such vices. So I threw it into the chasm and moved on to floor 8. Seemingly not content with dying once, the Minotaur came back again on floor 8, but he did even worse this time, because me and the boys kicked the ever-living shit out of him. After that, I spent some time using my Ring of Invisibility to farm backstabs on the local NPCs, which power-leveled our stealth. Once we get it maxed out, we'll be able to turn invisible even without the ring. Anyway, I ran out of people to stab, so I decided to head to the secret
audacity.
level, nearly getting crushed by several boulders in the process. Heading through the portal, we arrive at the haunted castle. It's just us and our
Ooh,
goblin
spoopy.
companion named Abdul. Abdul will not be surviving this part, because the haunted castle is like a schizophrenic homeless man on the sidewalk. Harmless when
Jerva
ignored,
slander's
but once you
crazy.
interact with it, you have put everyone's life in immense danger.
Die, you
motherfucker!
Luckily for us, I have a plan. I explore the outskirts of the castle, making sure to ignore the 60 tombstones all around it, before proceeding inside to find some very nice loot. These legendary boots give us a huge armor buff as well as more wall hacks.
Okay.
However, by touching them, I have awakened the sleeping beast.
I assumed they had
all
a...
60 of those tombstones out front. Yeah, they just spawned
Oh.
super zombies, and now they're coming to kill us. Rushing outside, I waste no time casting the levitate spell and walking off the edge of a cliff. As long as we can channel this, they can't get us. Furthermore, our melee range is about 10% longer than theirs, so I spent the next 30 minutes beating every single zombie to death with my bare
your health is
hands,
looking a little
taking
low.
breaks every so often to drip feed myself YouTube slop while I regenerate mana. This power leveled our unarmed skill from 25 to 64. With all of the zombies pummeled into a puree, I went back into the castle to gather
Get
the
more
rest of
loot.
the loot. Side note here, but the castle has plumbing, which you can use to fill up glass bottles with clean water. Clean water which can then be used with your alembic to duplicate potions and level up your alchemy skill. After a bit of that, it was time to
wow,
move
this
on.
area is
Floor 9
hella
was
useful.
relatively uneventful. I spent 20 minutes harassing slime molds to max our stealth,
Sewer
killed another
rat.
shopkeeper because I liked his fit, and then moved on to the next biome, the Sand Labyrinth. Neither a labyrinth nor particularly sandy, this place is better known for making me racist against lava and housing an entire bug society. This whole place
How you racist against lava, bro? It's a state of matter on a rock. What do you mean? That makes no sense.
place is swarming with scarabs, scorpions, and insectoid warriors. Luckily, we've got about 40 vials of blood, so I was able to take my time carefully enslaving an army of bugmen to do my bidding.
Yes.
Now, in case you're not thrilled by the idea of being drafted into my 1940s-esque
it's
chain
not a
gang,
choice.
I humbly invite you to consider the
Dying.
alternative. Because I'm running around the map at 70 kilometers an hour, ripping everyone else apart limb from limb. We're on floor 13 now, which puts us at about the halfway
Rat
point
gang
to
or
reaching
no
hell
gang?
and killing the devil. Also, Rat Jesus just unlocked his first major miracle, because this spellbook gives us access to some basic healing for ourselves and our followers.
Oh,
this
that's
is
good.
just like in the comic. Shortly after finding the book, I also found a pair of
in the comic. Just like in the lore book, bro. Just like the lore.
golden Roman laurels, at which point my eyes widened as I entered the mind state of a man who believes the ghost of John Lennon is attempting to communicate with him through his alpha-getty, because there's no way this was a coincidence.
Ew,
You see,
John
13 years
Lennon.
ago, I got banned from my local church for asking the priest to power scale Jesus. Long story short, one of Jesus's main anti-feats was getting arrested by a bunch of illiterate Romans. Illiterate
Right.
Romans, Roman laurels, obvious really. Anyway, I believe the game wants us to rectify that.
That means that the Romans are coming after you, Rat Jesus. You must not follow the steps of the Jesus before you. You must adapt, overcome, be the god that humanity believes you to be, Rat Jesus.
Power build by becoming Roman,
Jesus
or I need
Christ,
to refill
the
my
rodent in
medication.
her.
Either way, I'm wearing the laurels, and they provide a massive 50% XP buff to our followers, which combined with our newfound healing abilities will allow us to power level them very easily. Moving on to floor 14, I use the power of leadership to convert all sentient life into funny numbers
You
on
could
my
literally
stat sheet.
grind
Also,
this
I found
up.
a very
Hello.
rare single-use amulet of life saving, which allows us to resurrect ourselves if we die,
That's
thereby
really
completing
fucking
our
good.
Son of God cosplay. Now we can proceed to the next biome.
He's literally Jesus. Roman is in Italy, therefore Italy has anti-Jesus. Therefore, Italy death at the beginning is justified. Italian death at the beginning is justified. He literally got a resurrection. Jesus the Revenger, bro. This is literally Rat Jesus the playthrough.
The ruins. The easiest way to explain this biome is with a story. 2 years ago, I was stopped on the street by a homeless man who almost certainly had hepatitis. He
Okay.
looked deeply into my eyes and said the following: "I haven't achieved sexual release in 13 years, but I'm ready to now." That was the most terrified I have ever been prior to unlocking the ruins, because this entire
so-
godforsaken
Man said
biome
a-
is swarming with militant gnomes that's
What a comparison. What a life story right there. Bro said I almost got taken, but it said gnomes with military grade gear is worse. Jesus is rat, so is the bubonic plague a curse or a blessing? Made perfect sense, I guess. I would call it a blessing depending on who you're talking about.
spend their
Was the bubonic plague the second coming of God? Wait a
entire
minute.
time covering every square inch of the map with improvised traps. If you're lucky, you'll step on a bear trap or maybe an IED, but the less fortunate among us may fall victim to their rohypnol sleeping traps that quickly sedate you into unconsciousness, at which point your ass may as well be a gnomish waffle house, because 10 to 20 of them are going to pile into it and be violent. Now, I don't know about you, but compared to getting gangbanged by gnomes, the idea of catching hepatitis from a street vagrant is starting to sound pretty good, but we're here now, and that guy's probably at a psych ward, so let's just get through this. I put the boys to work thinning out the gnome population. This generally worked well, but every so often we'd have some friendly fire. The issue with that is that friendly AI is programmed to hit back whoever attacked it, and the other AI is programmed to do the same. So any instance of friendly fire automatically initiates a positive feedback loop of reciprocated violence until someone is dead. Still levels up my leadership though. Anyway, not a huge fan of the ruins, so I made my way to the next secret level, the Mystic Library. This is a magical archive containing some of the strongest items in the game. Like many areas in Barony, it is also a very chill place if you're human. To everyone else, it may as well be Rwanda in 1994. That being said, we wasted no time subduing the Hutu librarians and stealing all of their relics. Mostly, it was a bunch of vaguely useful items, until I came across this chest right here. Contained within it was the final piece of our puzzle, the Vampire Doublet. This item disables passive health regeneration, but maxes mana regeneration. Combined with our Shaman Mask, we're now generating mana 1200% faster than normal, which means we don't have to settle for free force bolts anymore. Now we can start smacking our—
I realized, doesn't this mean, considering if he has like any healing spells, this also just, I mean, you have to do manual healing, but I mean, you could spam that now. Damn, nerds found good shit. No wonder they don't leave the book room. I know that shit. They got, listen, as much as we hate nerds, they do got some cool shit.
Enemies with such exciting spells as Invert Penis and Summon Foot Fetishist. With that, myself, Lesser Insectoid, Troll, and Felicia all proceeded to floor 17.
I cast fetish is crazy. What the fuck?
Where we were immediately mobbed by a gang of street gnomes. In this moment,
of
I
course,
want nothing more than
nerds
the sweet
would be all
death,
freaky like
but
that.
I must live on to make the gnomes' lives worse. The good news is that all of this fighting has increased our leadership, and we can now field 8 followers at a time. Battling our way to floor 18, we hear cries of anguish in the distance, which means there's either an Amazon warehouse on this level, or we're getting close to hell. After killing a few demons, my suspicions were confirmed.
No, not enough
this
screens
is
for
our
Amazon.
Crossroads. If we go through the normal exit, we proceed toward Baron Herx, but if we take the secret exit, we go to the underworld, which has a pleasant but surprising lack of gnomes. So you better believe I dove into this exit with the same enthusiasm as a burning man jumping into a lake of fire extinguishers. We are now in the underworld, a dark and insidious place teeming with nauseating creatures of the night. Also, it's not wheelchair accessible. In fact, it's not accessible at all. It's mostly just empty space. And since we're the only levitating rat on this team, we'll be doing most of this by ourselves. I flew around the first level, killing every zombie.
The weights of Jesus rats. He no longer walks on lava or water, but on the air itself. Literally just level 42. What is our character? He's probably like level 90, I think. Oh wait, his things are at level 125s and everything. Never mind, our character's probably like level 200. Holy shit. Noob. I know, he's calling Lord Jesus noob.
I could find. At this point, we're very over-leveled, and we have best-in-slot
we're only level 43.
So the killing is just for fun. Eventually, I decided to head back to the exit, which actually just takes you deeper into the underworld. This is where most people go, oh no, I'm stuck in eternal damnation. How can I escape? But those people are weak-minded.
Why do you have that picture? Okay.
Hell is stuck with us, and we're going to keep killing
you're just gonna
elites
murder
until
everybody.
we get to the final boss. However, I will admit it is a bit dangerous, because on this floor you start running into shades. These ethereal entities copy your character, equipment, and skills, except when they copied me, they didn't stay in rat form. So I had to fight a Chad version of myself wielding the legendary spear Gungnir. Shit sucked. After sexually
you're better than
several
them, though.
clones of myself, I proceeded through this portal. Thank God, we're finally in hell. This isn't how most YouTubers end up here, but it works for me. The very first thing I did in hell was find the Minotaur.
You're right, identity thieves. You know what? Identity theft is no real matter. Even in hell, that shit is not cool.
and kill him all over again. You really thought you could escape me just by going to another plane of existence?
Oh my
You
god.
absolute buffoon.
Come over
Speaking
here
of
and
which,
kiss
I
me in
also
my
found the
hot
Zap
mouth.
Brigade
I'm
and
feeling
engaged in a
romantical.
large-scale conflict with them. Unfortunately, they actually smoked me with a lightning bolt and killed me on the spot.
You got that
However,
resurrection.
Our amulet of life-saving kicked in, and we were resurrected to continue our holy mission. The Messiah has returned. However,
And he's
that was
stronger
kind of a
than
one-time
ever.
thing, so we'll have to be more careful. Anyway, I recruited several demons
Stronger
and we
than
started
ever.
working our way through hell floor by floor. My next near-death experience occurred when I got trapped in this courtyard with a rapidly
Chet, stop, bro. Sentence bubonic ass whooping. Gonna kick that Minusi is crazy. God, settle down, bro. Get that bull. The bull's dead. It's gone. It's over, bro. Leave it alone.
spawning group of hostile goat men. If we weren't invisible right now, we would certainly be dead. Wasn't sure how to get out of this one, to be honest, until I realized we have max leadership, which allows us to recruit goat men. So while invisible, I walked up to the goats, covertly recruited them onto my team, and convinced them to kill all of their friends. From our perspective, this made perfect sense, but to everyone else, this must have appeared as some kind of mass psychotic event. After that, the only thing left
You're
was
not
to
wrong. For you, it is literally for you. It's like, okay, we're turning them, you know. But for them, they're standing in a room all together, probably friends or comrades of war. Been through wars and battles in hell and hardships, or been ruling hell together with these people, or tormenting people together with them. Out of nowhere, one by one, they are start attacking each other, and you are just fighting back, and you're watching your friends around you, not your friends, but comrades, whatever, also start attacking each other, and you, out of nowhere, it's like a psychotic brick. Damn, it's gotta be horrifying.
the Cathedral of Sin, so we may as well
That guy
min-max
said your
the rest
mama
of our
fat.
stats before going in. All
Chaos.
that was left was alchemy, so I leveled it up by opening my inventory and drinking an exciting mixture of random chemicals and vials of acid. Non-chemists will see you power leveling your alchemy by drinking VCR head cleaner and say, he can't afford water. Now prepared for our destiny, I stormed the cathedral, mind-controlled the priest, and flipped several levers to open a portal to Mega Hell. Through here is Baphomet, who will not hesitate to kill us on the spot. So I sorted out my inventory, optimized the toolbars, and then dropped 10,000 gold to make us 100 pounds lighter. It's time for rat meat to become a legend. Arriving through the portal, we are immediately greeted by several pools of lava and the King of Hell. But for some reason, our first thought is, the craftsmanship on these walls is immaculate. The fight started with us getting mobbed by several demons, while Baphomet attempted pest control
Put your
via
armor,
fireball. We handled this part fairly well, but then he swapped to high-level boulder
turn the
spam,
people
which
against him.
resulted in about 50% casualties among our followers. The good news is we were absolutely chunking him whenever he'd pop up, and our amulet was reflecting most of his spells. Eventually, myself and two of our imps cornered Baphomet and mag dumped him down to 10% health, at which point we finished him off by biting him to death. Baphomet sunk into the lava, and the game rewarded us by making me fight 2 Minotaurs at the same time. Actually, not as bad as it sounds. With the Primeval defeated and the entire Minotaur bloodline extinct, I fought my way to the exit portal and returned to the land of the living, at which point we got an epilogue explaining that we have defeated the devil and no mortal or immortal can challenge our power. For
Rat
a rat,
God.
I'd say that's pretty damn
Rat
good.
Jesus!
So there you have it. We started off as a lowly rodent, and through a series of
He praised the
contrivances,
Rat
we
Messiah,
became a
the Rat
I'd
God,
like to
the
thank
Rat
Minotaur for
One,
being
the
such
Rat
a good
Wonder
sport,
of the
this
world,
month's
the
patrons
Rat
for
King,
supporting
the
the
Rat
channel,
God.
and finally, thank you for watching. Before I go, don't forget to download World of Warships using the link in the comments and use promo code HEADLESS to receive in-game currency, free ships, and a horseman with no head. Alright, that's all for now. See you later.
God bless the Rat Messiah. Praise him! Jesus Christ! Praise him! Praise the Rat God! Praise! In Rat we trust, in Rat we trust. Oh, this is a really good watch. Okay, this was funny. Chat being extremely I'm not even gonna mention it. But this was good. I really liked it. Praise be the Rat God. Praise the Rat God. Praise him. We are here with our monthly cheese tax. Anyways, that was a good watch. As always, the original video is going to be top of the description down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will catch you guys later. Praise the Rat God. And if you really like that content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you really want to see me live, I do stream on Twitch. So check me out there, crazies. Bye-bye.